So up to last class we have seen the current which has been coming out of the catcher cavity. So this is the current, this is the expression of the current which has been taken from the catcher cavity to have the amplified output. Okay. So after that we'll extend further to find the other parameters regarding the bunches which have been formed. So this is the current which is the beam current been available at the catcher cavity. So the current which is been affected due to the velocity modulation been available at the catcher cavity. So obviously they are been coming in some period, some bunches have been coming, some electrons outside of the bunches are also been arriving at the catcher cavity. So we can say the beam current which is available at the catcher cavity, it is also a periodic waveform and it is having the same period of the input, that is twice pi by omega. So we need to expand this current which has been available at the catcher cavity into Fourier series. Why? Because we need to take out the exact harmonics which will be responsible for the oscillation being created at the catcher cavity. So this is the total amount of current which has been available at the catcher cavity. So this current may have certain DC component as well as certain harmonics also. But we need to filter out the harmonics to have the oscillation been created at the same frequency which we have been given to the buncher cavity. Okay. So we need to expand this current in Fourier series. Since bunches are formed at periodic interval, the beam current at the catcher cavity is also a periodic waveform of period twice pi by omega. Therefore the current I2 can be expanded in Fourier series. Therefore the current I2 can be expanded in Fourier series. How? I2 is equals to A naught summation n is equals to 1 to infinite an cos n omega t2 plus bn sin n omega t2, where n is the integer excluding 0, an integer excluding 0. So what is this A naught? A naught is the DC component, 1 by 2s pi minus pi to pi I2 d omega t2. Let us give, it is the continuation of that. Last equation number was surely 5, now it is 6. What is this an? 1 by pi integration minus pi to pi I2 cos n omega t2 d omega t2 bn Okay. Now if we substitute in equation B, or equation B, if we equation B, I hope you all of you have been forgot all those things. So this is the equation B. Okay. So if we substitute this equation B in equation 6, 7 and 8, substituting equation B in equation 6, 7 and 8, what will found? We can write down this A naught is equals to, it will remain same, only this I will change, I naught d omega t naught, that is I naught by 2s pi omega t naught, it is minus pi to pi, it's coming out as I naught by 2s pi plus 2s pi, it is I naught. This is the DC component. Now same from AN, how to get AN? If you substitute equation D in equation 7, I am just writing here, substituting equation D. What was that? This is the equation D. Okay. So if we substitute this equation D in equation 7, you just do all the back calculation. Okay. So that is AN is equals to 1 by pi minus pi to pi I naught cos n theta naught plus theta g plus omega t naught minus x sin omega t naught plus theta g by 2 omega t naught. It is 1 by pi minus pi to pi I naught cos of n omega t naught and theta g and theta naught minus nx sin omega t naught plus theta g by 2 omega t naught. Same, we can go with Bn. So this is the A naught, An and Bn. So now if we split this cosine and sine terms in the form of cos of A minus B and sine of A minus B, this is a quite big equation. I'm just writing here what I'm going to do. By splitting the cosine and sines of the sine function in the form of and sine of A minus B. So if we expand like this, this an will be coming out as okay. Same for Bn we can write now we need to go with the Bessel function expansion. Each term of the integrand, these are the integrand, contains an infinite number of terms of Bessel function. These are cos of nx sin omega t naught plus theta g by 2 can be written as twice j naught nx plus twice j2 nx cos twice of plus theta g by 2 plus twice j4 for the sine function twice of nx Now putting this in the expression of an and bn, expression of an bn, this an will be twice I naught j n nx cos n theta g n theta naught, and bn will be twice I naught nx n theta g plus where j n nx is the nth order Bessel function of the first kind. It is all the mathematical operators. Therefore I2 is equals to I naught 1 to infinite twice I naught j n nx cos n theta naught theta g cos n omega t2 plus sin n theta naught n theta g sin n omega t2 or I naught plus to infinite cos of n theta naught plus n theta g minus omega t2. Okay, so this is the final expression of the current which has been available at the catcher cavity. So if we substitute theta g is equals to omega tau, substituting theta g equals to omega tau, which is omega d by v naught, previous class omega t1 minus t naught. So what will be this I2? I2 can be written as I naught plus n is equals to 1 to infinite twice I naught n nx cos n omega t naught, capital T naught, n omega tau minus n omega t2. So it is t2 I naught infinite twice I naught. I am just simplifying this thing, cos of minus T naught. So the fundamental component of this beam current at the catcher cavity will have the magnitude, because we will have so many harmonics, so let us consider the fundamental component only. Therefore the fundamental component of the beam current at the catcher cavity has a magnitude which is taking only the magnitude of this, that is fundamental component IF. It is twice I naught J1 x for n is equals to 1. For n is equals to 1, first kind, if we consider the fundamental component, so this is the fundamental component. So this fundamental component will be maximum for what value of x? The IF will be maximum for x is equals to 1.841. So what is this x? We already know the value, this expression for this x. Therefore x, which is beta I v1 theta naught by twice v naught. Okay, so this theta naught, we know theta naught is the, if theta g is the omega d by v naught, then theta naught it is the, that drift space. Theta naught is the drift space, transit angle. Since theta naught is the omega L by V naught. So we need this X to produce the maximum value of this fundamental component. So the maximum value of this fundamental component being available at the catcher cavity after traveling that drift space. So obviously this maximum velocity will be available, that is the maximum magnitude of the bunches will produce the maximum current after traveling an distance, that is drift space, which is the optimized distance, because we want the bunches when it will arrive at the catcher cavity after traveling that drift space, so that the maximum numbers of electrons are available at the catcher cavity, which will give the maximum amplitude. So we can consider for this case this theta naught will give the transit angle depending upon the L optimum, optimized drift space length. So we can write this one as beta I V1 by 2i's V naught. Theta naught will give us L optimum by V naught, reference velocity, that X should be 1.841. So what will be that L optimum? We can easily find out from this. It is coming out as 3.682 small v naught capital V naught by omega beta I capital V1. So we have already seen that del L in the previous class. This is the expression of the del L, which should be covered by all of the 3 electrons to meet at a certain location to form the bunch. But by doing all the calculations, by taking the maximum amount of the current to be arrived at the catcher cavity, we found this is the optimum value, optimized value of that drift space should be given, so that the maximum amplification can achieved. Okay, so if we do the comparison between this two length, that is the previous del L and the L optimum, then we can find out what supposed to be the variation in the del L and this optimized drift space length. So therefore if we take the comparison between these two, previously that was del L was pi V naught capital V naught by omega beta I V1. Now this one is this. So omega beta I V1 by 3.682 V naught capital V naught. So it is coming out as 3.682, which is almost 0.85. So what we can say, the previous del L was approximately 15% lesser than this L optimum. So our L optimum should be 0.85 of del L. Okay, so our del L, which we have been considered, so that after traveling that distance all of the 3 electrons should travel that distance and meet at a certain point to form the bunch. So after doing all the calculations, what we have been found, we found that this L optimum is 15% lesser than the del L. Or if this del L should be this L optimum, then we need to consider that our del L should be 15% less. Okay, so we consider del L is approximately 15% less than L optimum, is approximately 15% less than L optimum. So why? This is due to the approximation made in deriving del L and to the fact that maximum fundamental component of the current will not coincide with the maximum electron density along the beam. Okay, just leave that part. So this is due to the consideration what we have been taken at that time to decide this del L. But this L optimum gives us the maximum amplification. That is what we have not considered that time. We have considered that all the 3 electrons should meet at the same location after traveling this del L. But we have not considered that whether that del L will produce the maximum amplification or not. Okay, so this is our optimized drift space length. This is our optimized drift space length which we need to consider. Okay. So till now we have been taken the use of cavity resonator, input cavity, output cavity, buncher cavity, catcher cavity. So let us see what is this cavity resonator basically is. Cavity resonator. So I am just taking an rectangular box. Inside that, let us consider we are having some half wave. These half waves are symmetrical in shape. There is a location of V min. It is also the location of V min. Now, what is this cavity resonator basically is? These are the shorting plates. These are the shorting plates, both sides. So what does it mean? We are having in all the 6 sides which are having the metallic plates. All the 6 sides is been given some metallic plates. So there are no openings on this. Now, by some means, if we can able to put some waves inside that, then sine wave, a sine signal, if we able to put inside this rectangular box which has been covered in the 6 sides by metallic plates. So what will happen? If the wave is able to sustain inside that, so it will form the standing wave. Why? Because it will found some short circuit termination. So these waves will move back and forth by reflecting in the all the sides. So let us consider it is basically reflecting from this front and back side. So what will happen? The waves will reflect in this side as well as in the back side. So it will form a standing wave. So it will start vibrating inside that rectangular box. So if we can able to sustain this kind of wave inside that rectangular box, then we can say this rectangular box is known as a cavity resonator, where inside these boxes the waves can able to resonate. Okay, so somehow if it is possible to sustain the wave inside this rectangular box. Okay, so what we can say, when one end of the waveguide, if it is a waveguide, is terminated in a shorting plate, there will be reflections and hence standing wave, this kind of standing wave. When another shorting plate is kept at a distance of multiple of lambda g by 2, I am just writing here, when one end of the waveguide is terminated in a sorting plate, some metallic plate has been placed, there will be reflection and hence standing wave will produce, as shown in this diagram. Now, when another sorting plate is kept at a distance of multiple of lambda g by 2. So what is this lambda by g? Lambda g is the guided wavelength. Then the hollow space so formed can support a signal which bounce back and forth between the sorting plate. Between the sorting plates. If it has been kept at a distance of lambda g by 2, means half of the wavelength, then the wave will reflect a bounce back and forth. This results into resonance. This results in resonance, and hence the hollow space is called cavity, and a resonator as the cavity resonator, and the resonator is called cavity resonator. So the waveguide section which we have been considered, that may be a rectangular one, that may be circular, that may be any kind of shape. So the cavity resonator can be tuned normally as a circuit, okay, because the resonance we can have the inductance and capacitance only. So we have seen previously a resonator can act as an inductor as well as a capacitor. So by tuning that inductance and capacitance, we can able to tune the operating frequency. Okay, so let us find out the cutoff frequency for a cavity resonator. What is supposed to be the cutoff frequency? Expression of F naught, particularly in a rectangular cavity resonator. In a rectangular cavity resonator, let us find out. So for a rectangular waveguide, what we have been found? For a rectangular waveguide, we have found h square was gamma square plus omega square mu epsilon, which was a square plus b square, which was m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square. So this omega square mu epsilon can be written as m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square minus gamma square. So gamma square for the wave propagation will be simply j beta. For wave propagation, gamma is equals to j beta. Therefore gamma square is equals to minus of beta square. So omega square mu epsilon is equals to m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square plus beta square. Okay, this it is for the propagation to exist. There is no attenuation. Now, for any mode, let us consider some mode has been excited. By some mode it has been excited this waveguide. So some TEMN mode, the longitudinal field component we can easily find out. For the TEMN mode, the longitudinal magnetic field component, for TE we are supposed to have the magnetic field component, H field for the traveling wave, right? For the TE mode we are supposed to have the magnetic field in the direction of wave propagation. Field for the traveling wave is plus z direction, wave in plus z direction, Hz is equals to, let us take some constant d, cos m pi by a x cos n pi by b y e to the power minus j beta z. Okay, now this is the plus z directed wave which has been propagating in the plus z. So when it will reflect back, it will become the minus z directed, right? So for the reflected wave, for the reflected TEMN wave, let the amplitude has changed. Let the amplitude be d prime. Some amplitude it has. So this Hz prime, it will be d prime cos m pi by a x cos n pi by b y it is inside e to the power, now it is j beta z, previously it was minus j beta z. So the total longitudinal magnetic component, the total magnetic field inside the waveguide, what will be that? Hz, some capital Hz is equals to Hz plus Hz prime. Now since the magnetic field component Hz is perpendicular to the closing plates, right? Hz supposed to be the perpendicular because it is propagating in the, it is x, it is y, it is your z, it is x, it is y, it is your z. So as the magnetic field is along the z, so obviously at the closing plates, that is at this side as well as at the back side, there will be the perpendicular. So we can consider this magnetic field will be same inside this conducting plate and outside of the conducting wall, because normal component of the field will same, right? Normal component of the magnetic field intensity will remain same in the two sides of the boundary. We have been seen the boundary conditions. Okay, since the magnetic field component Hz is perpendicular to the closing plates or shorting plates, to the closing or shorting plates at z equals to 0 and z equals to d. We have taken the length, total length of is equals to d. Now normal component of the magnetic field, because on this closing place, it will be normal. So normal component magnetic field is continuous, but no magnetic field exists inside the conducting wall, because if this sorting plate is having certain thickness, so inside that plate no magnetic field can exist. So we can say this Hn1 is 0. This magnetic field normal component will be 0. Just try to understand. Magnetic field normal component of magnetic field intensity will be continuous if the Gaussian boundary, whatever the boundary we have considered, if it is of negligible thickness. So whatever the magnetic field here, Hn1, it will be same as Hn2. Now if this boundary is having certain thickness, so we can consider this thick metal is the one medium and another medium just outside of that thick conductor. So inside the conductor obviously there will be no magnetic field, so we can consider this side it is 0. Hn2 will also be 0. So what we can say, according to boundary conditions, Hz is equals to 0, this Hz is equals to 0 at Z equals to 0, and we get, if this Z equals to 0, Hz equals to 0, so Hz is equals to minus of H prime Z. So D will become minus of D prime. It is D prime, previous one is non-prime. So therefore, that is, we can write Hz is equals to D, if you take the summation, D e to the power minus j beta z plus D prime e to the power j beta z into, this term will remain same, cos m pi by ax cos n pi by by. This Hz is 0, we have considered at Z equals to 0. How we are getting this value, I am just writing here, D plus D prime, since Z equals to 0 and Hz is equals to 0. So D is coming out as, therefore D is equals to D prime, whatever we got. I am just writing that one directly. So this Hz, it will be D cos m pi by ax cos n pi by by e to the power minus j beta z minus of e to the power j beta z. So this will become twice j sin beta z. So it is coming out as, if you take minus common, so minus twice j d cos of m pi by ax cos of n pi by by, it is sine of beta z. Now another one is where at the z equals to d, we have considered this front side, if we take back side, Hz is equals to 0 at z equals to d. Since on this, since sine beta d is equals to 0, out of this we can consider this one is equals to 0. So it is coming out as beta is equals to, or I am just writing beta d is equals to p pi, some constant p. So what is this beta? Beta is p pi by d. So what is this b? P is equals to a constant 1, 2, 3 like this. So what it indicates? It indicates the half-wave variations or either electric or magnetic field along the z direction, this P, and D is the length of the resonator. So what we can write about this? So what will be our final Hz? By putting beta is equals to p pi by d in this expression, this Hz it is coming out as minus twice jd cos m pi by ax cos n pi by by sin p pi by d z. That is the Hz along the direction of propagation. Now let us find out the cutoff frequency. Now when beta is equals to p pi by d, we are having f is equals to f naught, or omega is equals to twice pi into f naught or omega naught. Let us consider. So therefore omega naught square mu epsilon is equals to, now it will become m pi by a, n pi by b, and as well as p pi by d. Why? Because we have considered here this beta square. So we have been found the beta square as p pi by d. So we can write directly as omega square mu epsilon as m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square plus p pi by d whole square. So what is this f naught? F naught is 1 by 2s pi root over mu epsilon m pi by a whole square n pi by b whole square plus p pi by d whole square equal to the power half. Right? So this is the expression of the cutoff frequency. So what is the mode of propagation of the cavity resonator? It may be mode of propagation, it will be either TEMNP or TMMNP. This is the mode of propagation. Now inside, if it is the medium, it is the free space, then we can consider this one as C. So pi will get cancelled. So the simplified form, if medium inside the cavity resonator is free space or air, this f naught will become c by 2 m by a whole square plus n by b whole square plus p by d whole square for half. So this is the expression for the cavity resonator, cutoff frequency of the cavity resonator. Okay, fine. So I am just concluding up to this.